Welcome, everybody, to week 2, day 2 of the NLC. We have had 4 excellent games to kick off the week, and we've got 4 more coming your way tonight. And of course, on the analyst desk this week, I have Orcs, Gulborg, and Veteran joining me, ready to break down all of the action. Obviously, thank you to Corsair and El Giganten for sponsoring the NLC. You guys make this possible, so fantastic to have you on board. Guys, let's dive right into the action. Let's dive straight into yesterday's matches. And we're going to kick things off with the BTXL game, which to apparently everybody except for Gulborg was a little bit of a surprise in terms of the result. What do you guys think happened here? I'll start with you, Dan. This game, what happened for XL?
I mean, ultimately, XL just weren't able to make their game plan work. They picked the Karma Ezreal again. They should be looking towards the bot lane to punish it. This never really came to fruition, and a big aspect of that was Taxa was not enabling hat-tricks to get the effectiveness out of this TF pick. You're playing into a Zoe, you have the TFD Sin. It should be very easy to apply pressure mid, and then from there, you can expand the control towards that bot lane and punish the Vayne. This never happened, and eventually, it just meant Riddle's bot lane became unchecked. The Vayne was extremely powerful, and Maxi was just focused on farming up a Storm, and Taxa just fell hugely behind compared to the Nidalee.
And it was not only that, it was really just that Riddle was just better at playing the map than BTXL. BTXL, we talked about it yesterday too, they overforced a lot of the plays and they stayed overgrouped, which inevitably made the enemy on the opposition side of Riddle get an XP lead, gold lead, and with this scaling team composition, they were just able to take it home too, and a good draft was also coming in from Riddle to really utilize with the Ezreal against the, not Karma, but the Ezreal that BTXL brought out.
And Veteran Dusty here bouncing back. Obviously, you just saw that happen. This was the Tricks game where they looked incredibly good versus Barrage as well.
Yeah, they did, actually. It gave me a lot more hope for Eren specifically. I think Eren is doing a lot of things that we would expect to see some of the high-tier mid lanes do, like the things we wanted to see hat-tricks being able to pull off in place of special is the stuff Eren's being able to pull off in his games. He controls the entirety of the map. Soph has been very critical to Tricks' victories as well, but the star of the show has really been Eren, and all of these juicy picks he's able to bring out and flex with Wazor. They have a really strong draft because of the flexibility of the 2 solo laners, and they have a really, really strong game plan because it doesn't seem to matter how much you camp Eren. Eren always manages to find a way to control the map, and I really enjoyed this game from Fnatic. I think it's probably the last time we're going to see Varus go through ban phase. I think this champion's just far, far, far too strong. It enabled the Graves rotations that they had. They had possibly the most perfect comp they could possibly have for their playstyles. I don't think we're going to see this kind of strength of Fnatic from draft again, and it didn't really answer a lot of the questions I had about Fnatic's current direction because of how broken this draft was. Like, what can they really do here? There's really nothing that they can do.
Yeah, that Fnatic game was particularly impressive, and I think a lot of it, Veteran, you actually talked about there being 2 games that were just won straight up through draft yesterday.
Yes.
Draft is obviously playing in like a huge amount here. We didn't actually get a chance to talk about the second game of the day. And Gulborg, that was the game where we had, I'm just going to double check, Dusty. Oh, Eminem versus Dusty, yeah. And that was obviously Dusty bouncing back from the loss versus Trick Esports last week, but they look pretty solid. I mean, Eminem admittedly didn't look great, but, you know.
That was not only solid, that was a stump. Let's be honest. I don't want to steal away one of Veteran's quotes yet. I'm saving that for later. But Monk has not looked promising so far in that mid lane. I'm sure he was a great player as an AD carry, but on the mid lane role, he's still yet to show me why he's there. And to be fair, it's not only to talk about Monk. It's really overall just the whole M&M roster. But they didn't really stand a chance. Dusty, for me, are really one of the teams shaping up together to really become one of these top 4 contenders too. Because I feel like they're showing high level game knowledge and play in that game too, and I love the way they use the picks here with the Poppy as the fit pick, just to really completely neutralize the composition that they tried to throw at them from M&M, and they just stole away the show yesterday.
Yeah, actually, let's sort of expand on that M&M game, because that's one that I am a little bit interested in. What is it that M&M are having issues with right now? What is it that they aren't seeming to get and they aren't seeming to gel together with?
I mean, they seem to be at least like a week behind every single other team in their understanding of the meta. They seem to be behind other team in terms of individualistic practice as well. Like there were so many groupings that the Yuumi is able to get versus a Kalista lane, for example. There are individual misplays that have prevented them being able to even demonstrate any form of like cohesive team identity. And their priorities, like their heavy priority on Kalista, just seem to be behind a lot of the other teams, except for on the same day, Monster Rugby Gaming, who was similarly stomped. Right, they just seem to be behind in almost every aspect right now. There isn't really a gap, a significant gap at least, anywhere in the league, except for the gap between M&M and the rest of the league right now. They are really pigeonholed in a place, both individualistically, which has made it so that stylistically we have no idea what a strong M&M team actually looks like.
Yeah, I've got to agree. And as much as we had some praise in the first week's game from aesthetic, we saw what happened when everyone started to crumble around him. He wasn't able to get that sort of freedom he had up against Maxlaw, who didn't prioritize punishing a jungle matchup. And it just felt like he couldn't have the real impact he was looking for. And Monk was just honestly a bit of a disaster in the mid lane. Yes, they did look to frequently punish him. Yes, it was intelligent draft, and they knew that Azir was what he would lean towards, and they had a plan in place for that. But still, just the scoreline speaks for itself. And I think we have a game from M&M later today. They really need to start just stepping up their performance and developing some sort of identity so they have something to work on if they're going to even be able to make any sort of impact in this split. Otherwise, we could just be looking at them not even getting close to playoffs by the end of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree with what they said. Just to chime in here too, I think the statement Veteran just made is so wise about them being a week behind, because that is really what it feels like every time we see them play. But at the same time, you do still see the team fundamentals coming in. I think last game we did see Kalira step up his laning phase, where the first game of the week he completely blundered and just straight up into to say it nicely. So I feel like they are on the upswing as much as M&M can be on the upswing. The draft didn't really help them yesterday. But they really need to start pulling that together, because I feel like that they are just falling behind everyone else.
Yeah, I don't want to be this pre-show to be the rag on M&M pre-show, but we've got them playing later today, so we'll be able to see if they're able to turn things around in that period and whether M&M can regroup. Now, let's have a look at the standings for our groups. You can take a look at Group A to begin with, and at the top, Riddle and Nordavind 2-0. You will see both of these teams in action in further today. XL will be taking on Nordavind, and I believe Riddle will be taking on Godsent as well. So we're going to see pretty much everybody from Group A actually in action, with ENCE and Team Singularity kicking things off as well. So they'll be able to get their first win on the board. Let's have a look at the Division B standings. And we can see that Fnatic Rising and Trix, no surprise. Well, Trix may be surprising some people, with Monster Rugby Gaming also losing there. But Fnatic Rising at the top with 2-0. I don't think many people expected any less of our champions. And obviously Barrage and M&M, as we just talked about, yet to get a win on the board. Now, guys, we are gearing up for that first game of the day, which will be ENCE versus Singularity. We're going to go to a quick break. When we are back, we will dive into the games from today and then look towards our first.
how much I could feel till I met you. It's like I'm seeing all the colors for the first time, and I'm hearing all the music for the first time. I watched you grow, sweeter than when spring warms the snow, and you're smelling all the flowers for the first time, and you're singing all the music for the first time. Oh, you, I got a place for you. Oh, you, I got a place for you. In my hand is a place where your hand goes, and my heart's just a place you made your home. Oh, I got a place for you. I never knew how good life should be. Then I met you. We're seeing all the colors for the first time, and we're dancing to the rhythms for the first time. I watched you grow, sweeter than when spring warms the snow. It's like I'm breathing in the seasons for the first time, and splashing in the puddles for the first time. Oh, you, I got a place for you. Oh, you, I got a place for you. In my hand is a place where your hand goes, and my heart's just a place you made your home. Whoa, I got a place for you. The music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. The music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. The music takes me places that I never dreamed that I would go, and how it touches me, touches me, touches me. Lift me up, yeah. Lift me up, lift me up, lift me up.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
Gets a massive chunk of damage onto Hoist and stuns him out for the double kill. Painting through this, look how much damage he does. Gets the snipe
Gets it as well. Thumbs up, just cheers.
That's forward by Nini, pulled out by the Emperor's Defiant, but the Infernal Chain's calling back in. Ericsson finds himself a killing spree and a double kill to turn it around. The Azir finds himself one. He's gonna get shut down though. Aaron looks to tidy up. Legion is having a thing out. And tricked by the team fight win. That was nasty.
Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC. We are about to dive into our first match of ENCE versus Singularity. But speaking of ENCE versus Singularity, we have 3 more matches following. So let's take a look at the schedule today, and we can see what's coming your way. As I said, ENCE versus Singularity kicking things off. Nordavind versus BTXL, Godsend versus Riddle, and then Tricked versus Eminem to round the day out. Guys, there's a lot of exciting matches today. Just to briefly tell me which ones you're hyped about. Me personally, I know a lot of you in the desk are, but the Nordavind BTXL match seems really exciting to me.
I mean, yeah, I think it really is for all of us, especially because BTXL has shown some weakness, especially yesterday against Riddle. And at the same time, it is really the first time Nordavind is getting tested too. They've had some fairly easy opponents, if you could say it like that. They've definitely not had any issues with them so far. And to me, Nordavind is really going to show their value as a team when they're playing against a team like BTXL.
Yeah,
I think, go on.
I was just going to say, I have to agree. And I think this is an important one for BTXL within their group, because I think by all means, BTXL haven't had the cleanest run in the UKLC in general, often overshadowed by Fnatic. Last split, they nearly got the perfect season before getting reverse swept. And here, they've already been knocked down a peg by Riddle. If they get beaten up by Nordavind as well, I think it's just a really rough start to the season. And by all means, if they play like they did in that Riddle matchup, I do expect Nordavind to be able to challenge them. I think Nordavind have shown a pretty strong ability to play in an efficient system for them as a team. It's not like they're heavily sacrificing resources for one individual player, but they have a tendency to make sure that they're efficient. And we've seen that XL will overforce around bot lane, bring too many resources as well to facilitate Tax's invades, and that can be really costly.
I'm going to buck the trend and say that I think Godsend versus Riddle is the game of the day. I think it's going to be an incredibly bloody affair. Godsend love to play split map in mid to late game with Champion. They also love to make engages if their opponents are playing a split map scenario, and Riddle absolutely loves split map scenarios. Godsend opt into the 0-3-2, make heavy plays around Champion in this solo lane, and from that try to snowball the game. But Riddle play that particular style, and they also challenge that particular style very heavily in these massive split map scenarios. I think you'll see a lot of one-on-ones. I think you'll see a lot of 2v2 skirmishes, and very little in terms of straight up team fighting. But I think it could become a very, very, very bloody game as both these teams match what each other likes to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Godsend game, especially because their style is so different to a lot of the teams in our league, and that makes it exciting in its own right. It's nice to see teams have a different take on the meta, and when Godsend, as you saw last week, found success with it as well, which is awesome. But let's deep dive into our first matchup of the day. It's going to be ENCE versus Singularity. Let's kick things off with Singularity. They are a team that has good concepts as a whole, but seemingly can't quite sort of make it work on an individual level.
If I could just touch on that real quick, because I think you're hitting the nail straight on here, where they have a good concept of league, but sometimes they're just too tunnel vision about what they're really doing. Sometimes the individual mistakes when they're doing a play is making them struggle about actually committing to it. Because if, for example, in their game yesterday with only 35, he got caught up in a Herald setup, but they still committed to set this Herald up. And that just made them start a fight where they were really unfavorable 4v5 from the beginning. So it's like they want to commit a play, but the setup is not quite there for them yet. So they seem quite tunnel vision every now and then. But that can also make them extremely dangerous, because if they're only tunnel vision on kills, that can make it a really bloody game too.
Yeah, and I think I actually am kind of impressed by how SNG do understand the map, because you can see that they have the right idea a lot. And if it wasn't for those instances, yeah, I think that they could actually be a much, much better team. It does make me think maybe SNG are closest out of all of the kind of, I guess you could say, sub-top 4 teams of becoming one of the top 4 teams. My big question marks for them are going to be Val, for example. Val seems to demand a lot more towards him than a lot of other mid laners do. Normally, we are talking about mid lane and concept as being a lane that you'll play through and then play towards a side lane with. Val doesn't really do that. Val has his side lanes end up playing for him. We'd see Ezreal Karma rotate towards him rather than him rotate towards Ezreal Karma for a dive, for example. I'm not sure how heavy that will hold up versus a lot of top tier mid laners. And given how much ENCE were struggling in their mid-section yesterday, early game at the very least, it simply had some pretty good plays later on. I wonder how much of an advantage this gives Val and what Val will opt to do with that advantage, because thus far we've just seen him push advantage in lane and not really try to transfer this around the map.
I think that's the important thing, because I really think the emphasis needs to be on what they can do with those early advantages. I expect, as Veteran said, for Vroud to find that, but it's about maintaining it. And branching on to that point where they will commit to the individual mistakes, we can end up seeing a chain reaction where one small mess up that may delay tempo typically for a team can end up being a massive gold swing when Singularity's still up to take in unfavorable circumstances despite the early lead they have. And I could see ENCE coming back, because I feel like where they really shine is in the sort of mid to late game, particularly in the mid lane. I think a rough laning phase, but they can get to those later stages. That's where I think Singularity may make mistakes, may crumble, and ENCE can find this one.
And I completely agree with that statement. I'm just wishing for ENCE to put more of this mid-game situation onto their top side as well, because we've seen Godsend be able to actually pull it out with Champion and Camille, where they're not actually giving him that much resources, but they're just letting him scale in the top side and make him become a menace in the side lane later on. I want Nilly to be that kind of character, because he's that individual good that he doesn't need all these resources from his team. He fares fine alone up in the top lane, and you can straight up put him onto whatever, but I'd really like to see him again on the likes of Aatrox, Camille, Fiora, Irelia, one of these really nearly champion picks. And then I feel like sometimes the end synergy is kind of off, especially for the support and jungle. They seem fairly uncoordinated. I've seen the roster try to find windows. My problem is they are looking for windows in two different apartments. So I'm really looking for them to find the same play rather than to go for two different plays.
Yeah, and I think obviously we've talked a little bit about the difference in styles that we've seen from some of these teams as well, and obviously that starts in the draft. So we're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we'll be diving into picks and bans. Picks and bans are ready to go. ENCE versus Singularity set taken off the board straight away, followed up by Varus. As a lot of people have been discussing, it's unlikely that we're going to see Varus anytime soon after that Fnatic game.
It really does make sense. I feel like after people really got demonstrated from that Fnatic game what this champion was capable of, especially because of how easy it is to build on this champion. He really just needs a lot of resources to get his key items, so it really does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, at the same time, he works effectively as poke, works effectively as disengage. He performs a similar function to a lot of control mages in that regard. It's just a really disgusting champion, and early levels, it doesn't even matter whether you're going lethal tempo or comet in terms of your level 1 power versus a lot of champions. The only thing that didn't make sense is the fact that it's not on 100% contest rate right now. It's really amazing.
If I like how that Camille ban came out, I don't know if Mila Jane the mental etch on that, but he just posted on Twitter he got top 20 with Camille, so I feel like that just went through. And speaking of going through,
yeah,
Syndra.
I was just gonna say, it seems really weird to me that they'd leave the Syndra open, especially as something we highlighted was Vral loves to play for lane, simply has had issues in the early game in the laning phase. Syndra is absolutely a champion that you can use to capitalize on that, especially if Scoot has something where he plays through mid. We can see this being a big problem for the mid lane of ENCE, and they've just picked a pretty heavy scaling bot lane as well, so I'm having some concerns already for their early game.
Yeah, I mean, you can run Syndra into this is the thing, or you go into Aphelios Lulu. Like, just run Syndra though right now.
Yeah, Takeset does play Syndra, so this is just fine. Like, the flex is still open and available. This is not necessarily Vral yet, and this does help him come into a more favorable position if he wants to pick another mid lane champion, so he can see what the enemy team has actually picked. But they are going with the Aphelios straight up and revealing the Syndra, so Lulu still up and available if you want to counter pick with that from the Ezreal, or not necessarily counter, but it is the bot lane that we know, and there it is.
I mean, I will say that I'm a little bit disappointed. There's still a flex going on here. Syndra could actually be support and Lulu could be mid. I think Syndra support's very underrated and would not be bad versus this particular lane. Lulu is also, though, not bad versus that particular lane. Could still be Syndra jungle. I've heard rumblings of Syndra top, though I don't really agree with it in theory. Though I didn't really agree with Azir top in theory, and we've already seen that take home a victory in the NLC, so what do I really know? Trundle's being locked in on red side. They can opt into 2 jungle bans now, so the Lee Sin I would expect to be removed from the table, and then you have a choice between either Kindred or Graves. If you're banning only one of those 2, you kind of have to have knowledge of what it is that Scoot likes, because Scoot can also play the Nidalee matchup in here, and you have opted into a Yuumi bot lane, which leaves you uniquely vulnerable to a Nidalee rotation, though
Nidalee's already banned.
Okay, well, Nidalee's already banned.
Yeah.
So never mind, Nidalee's already down. So you ban Graves, you ban Lee Sin, you pray that he doesn't play Kindred. If he does play Kindred, you have mixed damage in mid-jungle. And it would be a pretty good setup in towards the Trundle, the Yuumi, and the Ezreal as well. You actually lack displacement. So then I'd expect to reply from Singularity would be an Azir ban to set up for the Kindred, because that would be what you would be worried about now, unless it's something like a top lane Gragas that you think they might be able to pull off.
To be fair, I kind of like where this is going with the Trundle pick too, because if you have the Trundle here and you go for the tank matchup, now you already see Singularity is starting to ban the tanks. They have the opportunity that they actually have Trundle, so if the Singularity wants to handshake the tank matchup, they're just going to get nullified with Trundle pick, and then you actually end up giving the counter pick to simply in the mid lane.
Actually, the more I think about Kindred, the more I like it, but do you really want to risk Lee Sin plus Syndra? Nah, they ban Lee and they ban Graves, so they are leaving the Kindred open. They'd want to go for an Azir here if they can, because that would allow them to at least counterplay on the Kindred's ultimate at a point, and you do need a priority lane, at least if you're going with Yuumi Ezreal on bot lane. Otherwise, Kindred's going to very easily find her marks. You at least need to be able to lean in towards Scuttle contests and Raptor contests. Echo is the ban. That kind of makes an Azir blind here more viable for them. That's a really strong pick into Azir specifically, so a little bit curious that they would go for that. Let's see what happens. It also feels like a champion Vral would really love to play into Azir, by the way, from what we've seen from him so far.
Yeah, it could just be a little bait by saying, okay, we're going to take over the Echo. How does the Seer look to you right now? And if they do play the Seer, they are giving Vral an extra opportunity, but they do go with the Zoe instead, and this has to be some sort of comfort instead, I do believe.
I think they feel like they can get priority with Zoe as well, and they know that Azir will end up losing out to Syndra as a lane matchup anyway, so they would prefer this, and they prefer to be able to lean in and deny Kindred her marks that way, I think is the thinking there.
Orcs, if you were rounding out this composition, what would you go for Singularity?
I think they need some engage because ultimately now they're dealing with some heavy poke threats from the side of ENCE. I think you need something to instigate the fight because there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to make use of the Aphelios Lulu if they're just never going to opt into a team fight for you. I think the Renekton, I mean, it works functionally as a blind, but I'd like to see a jungler, and I don't really feel like there's many left in this current higher tier. If they go for the Kindred, then it's going to be pretty difficult to try and force these fights for ENCE when they can just disengage. But I guess Gragas does fill that role, so something we haven't seen as much of recently, but I guess they were feeling that need for something to be the initiator.
I think they're also, apparently they don't play Kindred. I think they're also worried about going tank-wise versus the Trundle. I don't really like how much mixed damage they have here because it's a really easy Mercs treads back for Zoe, and then she actually feels pretty confident here. I'm not sure about going hard engage into the composition on the right because ENCE have the Trundle and they do have a full poke comp that has a lot of mobility to it, so it'd be pretty difficult to execute hard engage into it. I think they've ended up opting in for a strange 4-1 pick composition where they're going to try to play really heavily around the Trundle and try to play away from ENCE's advantages, but I like the Gangplank pick coming out from them, to be honest. I actually like ENCE's draft overall, even though the presence of the Syndra would generally lean me towards the left.
I actually like the Gangplank as well. I think it fits in perfectly, especially because we're talking about this style we really wanted Nilly to see here, where he could actually scale on the side lane. But he has the opportunity to be aggressive with this Gangplank in lane too if he wants to. These Grasp of the Undying pokes can really be tolling on this Renekton. So I'm gonna have to agree. I really do like the draft ENCE put out.
I do think it's very rough for ENCE though, until Ezreal gets Death Stance. Syndra is a Tommy 2-tap away from removing their key carries from the game. But so long as ENCE are able to make it to that point, I think they do have chances with this draft.
Is that something you agree with, Orcs? I mean, just your closing thoughts on that draft altogether?
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I think obviously I'm not too happy with the Renekton and the Gragas. I think they felt like they needed some tools to facilitate them. And I feel like the Gangplank does fit a strong role in terms of if you're trying to force fights, it's going to make things difficult. It provides that global pressure, which can hopefully mitigate the pace of Singularity, because it's something we expected going into the matchup. But I do feel like Singularity are looking to have a strong early game if they're going to be able to follow this one through. The Ezreal Yuumi will become problematic. The Zoe in tandem with that. I just feel like they're going to struggle if they don't come out of the early game with a lead for Singularity.
I completely agree with that. He said they certainly have to facilitate something in the early game, but this is also what we wanted from ENCE when we spoke about this in the pre-game talk. That we wanted ENCE to have more tools actually in the late game, mid to late game, where we were missing. They have more tools. They have that now. So I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out.
Well, we'll get to see as we hand over to our casters. We're going to jump into our first game of the day: ENCE versus Singularity.
Thank you very much, Excandrel. Hello and welcome back to the caster desk for day 2 of the NLC. My name is Hitpray and I'm obviously joined by Trouble Inc. Trouble, how are you feeling about this game? Obviously, both of these teams currently 0-2 in Group A. Yes, Group A. They're over in Division A, as we call it, actually. Both 0-2, looking to get their first win on the board here. But which team are you kind of more sold on? Let's take a step back from just this champ select and in general, like from play styles at their core. Who are you more sold on here?
I think honestly, both teams have opted to draft for their strengths. You know, you're able to somehow magically get a Syndra in your composition, so you're gonna snatch that away straight up. And Singularity love playing that early game. They love playing the aggression. It's playing right to them. I mean, a Renekton Gragas, a sort of top lane, you're expecting some dives to go down there. Same with the Syndra. You dominate lane. You translate that into the rest of the map. On the other hand, we talked about how ENCE sort of struggles in the early game and they kind of want to scale it to their mid to late. They have that. They've got all the tools. They've got scaling mid, they've got a scaling bot, they've got a scaling top. All the map is scaling for them. All we have to do is wait and see if they're going to actually survive that very powerful early game that Singularity is bringing in.
Yeah, obviously, we are doing a quick remake on the lobby. I think there was a little issue, hence why on us for a little bit more. So we get a little bit more time to talk about this. Looking at the rest of the team, though, the rest of the group and Group A, looking at the standings in general, obviously, BTXL are currently tied in 3rd with Godsent. How are you feeling about Team Singularity and ENCE in this group? Because obviously, you know, at the moment they are at the bottom. And I think Riddle was that kind of unexpected team who got themselves the 2-0. How do you feel that like they actually match up into the rest of this group?
See, if you're kind of putting them against the rest of the group, I would have to say, cool. You're going with the mindset of, you know what? on paper, I'm the weaker team here, so I have nothing to lose. So I would like to see them, experimenting, playing a little bit more aggressive, try to catch, the better whatever teams off guard. But right here, I think the pressure is on for both of them because they're, like you said, they're on 0-2, both of them. And whichever team is able to break that 0 on their wins will be able to pull through.
Alrighty, well, we loaded through onto the Summoner's Rift for our first game of day 2. Team Singularity taking on ENCE. Like I said, both of them are 0-2 in the standings, looking for their first win here at the Northern League Championship. I want to have a little talk about these two people on your screen right now. Vrao and Simply, the two mid laners.
I want to cry. I was just looking at that Syndra and I'm like, it's been so long since
it's been a while.
The Rift.
How do you feel this suits Vrao and his play style?
Oh, Vrao is literally an all-in kind of player. We have sort of explained how his playstyle tends to be a little bit solo queue-ish, where he wants to dominate that mid lane, and he's gonna ask for resources from the map, even the bot lane, to come and allow him to snowball that lead that he has in the mid lane. We saw him in the previous game last week to sort of take matters into his own hands as well and just going in 1v4 trying to get a kill. But here, it's pretty much a press R to win sort of champion. Syndra is just so stupidly strong right now. Her ratios, she provides a stun, she provides an ultimate that can literally delete someone off of the face of the earth. And stylistically, we've seen Simply struggle a little bit with his wave management and the way he plays the lane in general in the early phases. And he sort of clicks and comes online in the mid game.
All right, well, the minions like to have just moved up here for the moment. Both the junglers starting up on their bot side. So they will be heading through. Taiki actually already done 2 of the camps, actually just moving straight over to the red side. So not going for a full clear. See what Scood wants to do here. If Scood wants to go for a full clear. He did go for a ping on his Raptor, so I assume it's just going to be a full bot side clear for Scood.
Yeah, this is very typical from the Gragas, and then I'm expecting him to sort of lean towards the top side because you want to play towards Flaxes and that Renekton get him ahead early into the game. But Taiki is doing something very clever. He's doing the typical buff to Gromp sort of style, and then he's gonna try to invade because he knows that Skude is gonna opt to clear that bot side of the map first, or he's even gonna look for a counter gang. Luckily for Flaxes, he took precautions right there, warded his top side, so he's a little bit free, but look what's happening right here.
Yeah, it looks like no one's really going to be able to move over. The pillar gets used and Scood is going to lose out on his blue buff. A great steal there from Taiki with a smite, but it looks like everyone else is starting to collapse in. Flaxish, so it's like that slice and dice to get over the wall, but not going to be able to do too much about that. Scood now had a rough game last week on that Talia, already losing a blue buff here.
Oh, it's
a little rough for him, and Taiki actually now has Simply at his back. That pillar's going to slow so effectively. Simply does have that redemption if he needs to use it here. May just look for the snipe, but that's first blood. Picked up for Nilly.
Oh, and Skude is getting really hard punished into this early game. They're reading him like a book. And we said that we wanted to see ENCE play that early game a little bit more aggressive, and they're doing exactly that. They're reading the path of Skude and they're punishing it through raw priority. Simply managed to get that mid lane wave, which then allowed his jungler and the first rotations from top and mid to help Taiki on that trundle, punishing Skude. This is going to be really rough for that early game right now from Singularity, because you're not going to have the resources or the damage to try and go towards that top set and help Flaxes, because you have fallen tremendously behind onto the Gragas. He needs to start.
Vrao's going to take the pillar. The bubble goes out by Simply, flashed away by Vrao. They look to continue to chase here. The paddle star for the flash goes in. Simply gets the auto down, finds the kill. Taiki flashes out and Simply just chains another flash in. ENCE find their second kill in the mid lane.
Lovely stuff right here from the Finnish crew. They keep on punishing the over-aggression. You have absolutely no agency being in the center of the lane. trying to get priority or push your wave in. If you're Vrao, you're losing both your summoners. That means the second you overstep, you're gonna get punished. We didn't talk about this enough, but the fact that you have a Trundle versus a team with super immobile carries such as an Aphelios and Syndra, the second they miss position, and even worse, the second they miss one of their displacement summoners such as Flash, they're extremely punishable. And you see that Taiki is doing exactly that in the early game. I'm loving that Singularity are just not backing down at all. They know that they had the first back in the mid lane, and even though they're lacking the summoners, they've grouped up the entire map onto Skude and then trying to get in these objectives. He's really low.
Yeah, Taiki's actually got the pillar down. Look for Simply, and that paddle star. The Dragon's going to get dissuaded. Takes comes in with the Gravison, trying to put the damage in, trying to put the CC down, but the heal's going to be there. Simply misses out on the bubble, but lands the paddle star to only 35. And ENCE force Singularity off the objective. It looks like it will just be a light reset here. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Nilly's going for a fight versus Flaxish. Flaxish is going to come out for the better of that on the Renekton. Has got himself a pretty significant CS lead here in the top side.
Don't you wish the Gragas will just go up there and seal the deal for you? Get that Renekton up ahead, because how I'm seeing it right now, it's gonna have to be some sort of flank coming in from Flaxus's Renekton to try and get this fight started. But all in all, Singularity are just not putting the brakes down. They do have a ton of scaling on their side as well, and the strong lane right now is that top side with the Renekton, and I don't see the Gragas playing through that, which means not only they're losing advantages in the rest side of the map, they also lost the first Dragon.
Yeah, Ocean over to ENCE. Looks like Scoot's maybe looking to have something here in this bot side. Kevin does have a pretty big wave pushing into him, so Singularity actually should just be able to get priority on the river to get this second crab spawn up. And Scoot going to be able to get that. He is down to Taiki, so any little pickup like this is nice for him. That invade from Taiki at the beginning of the game was really, really costly actually to Scoot as far as the amount of gold he's been able to get, and might be down a little bit in CS, in experience as well. They are level 5 apiece here, but Taiki looking for a gank. The cannon barrage has been used. They've got everything they need. Takes that force to flash. ENCE though unable to sink any more in. The flash comes in from Kevo, only very, very low. So the Prowling projectile's not going to quite find its mark. Redemption from Simply will secure the kill.
Which is exactly why Zoe is in the illegal list, Hipbrain. What a redemption coming in from the mid laner to seal the deal right there. They're gonna be able to push that wave in, get complete dominance in the bot lane, and we're seeing the same thing happening with Trundle again. You walk into a lane where the ADC and the support are extremely immobile. Not only do you burn their summoners, but you also capitalize onto a kill. This is gonna mean that the bot lane of Singularity want to cheat the tempo right here and swap straight onto that top side, trying to beat ENCE to the play. But as you can see, ENCE already have this in their mind. I'm feeling like this is a completely ENCE we're seeing right here. They have done their homework. They're really good students right now, and their results are showing on the exam.
Oh, indeed. So ENCE are going to rotate their members over towards this top side. Taiki, once again, just sitting in Kevo's pocket. They get the slowdown. This should be the pillar. Takes it this time is flashless. Remember, the poly comes down, and now Scoot's looking for that counter gang. Takes it, putting so much damage in. The Midnight Vigil's there, and that's going to be the kill. Seth can't go anywhere as he's pinned in the minions. As Scoot is looking for Kevo. Not going to be able to chain any more damage in with the cask. But a great turnaround for Team Singularity, and this should just be heralded over to them.
That was a great sniff by Skude on the counter gank right there to try and punish ENCE for their over-aggression. We saw Taiki getting these summoners. He wanted more blood. He wanted more payoff for taking both the flashes from Takes It and only 35. And Skude was right there. So once all the CDs were expended from the side of ENCE, Skude flies in for the play, and they managed to get to one very critical onto that Aphelios as well, who are sort of being starved in the lane. So all in all, that very early tempo swap has worked for Singularity. You see great polymorph right there from only 35, denying any sort of damage coming in from Taiki. And of course, they're playing into a huge wave where Ezreal kind of sucks playing against because he wants to be able to hit these Qs. And when you're playing versus a trillion minions, you can't hit these Qs. So you see Kevo instantly backing off, which means there's no damage output. Polymorph beautiful right there from only 35. And that was a great counter guard by Sude.
Also, Takes did have the murder combo of weapons there with the white and red gun. He's able to do so much damage so quick.
And he doesn't even have
worst one to
Death
play
Stance
into.
yet, Hit Rain.
I know. I'm a little worried about it. Now, they are looking for something here on the Vrow. Actually misses out on pretty much everything there from Simply. So, not going to be able to find even any poke. Now, Vrow does have that blue buff, so there's still a lot of wave clear you can use here with the extra mana.
And you will notice that Vrow has kept himself extremely relevant, going up against the Zoe that's already 2-0. She's got a Lost Chapter in there as well as the Mercuries, so she is staying safe. She's got endless wave clear in lane, and even though this is the case, Vrow is still finding openings to stay ahead in CS, stay relevant into the game, establish vision into the river to try and provide Skude with more counter gank or gank ability. We see that Skude is playing really hard towards that bot side.
Oh, Scoot could just come in here. They do the Gravitum on Kevin. They decide not to go for the tower dive. Rift Herald in his pocket, though. See whether or not he wants to try and place this down, maybe get some plates, get some cash in. For now, it looks like they are more invested in getting first Terra blood. With
Give
that,
some love to that crocodile, man. Give some love to him. Look at him. He's all alone. All on his lonesome down
I
there.
think
He's like,
Blackfish
guys,
is okay, though.
like, guys, I can kill. I've got the Cutlass. We can get the slow down. We have the mixed damage. You know, with the Gragas, AP and 80 damage profile, we can just kill him and then get priority over the Dragon. But this is not the case because Skude is playing exclusively around his bot lane.
Well, let's say he actually is going to move over with Vrow here, but they're not going to be able to contest the Dragon. That's the second one over to ENCE. God's pretty close between both of our teams in this game. Simply spotted out on that ward. So we are looking at a Cloud Soul. Pretty nice for Taiki, actually. Once you get that subjugate, you do just stick to people like glue with the extra movement speed.
True, and it would be really nice with a Cannon Barrage as well. If Nila wants to play the side lane, he will be a nuisance for the entire Singularity team. If he does have that extra cooldown reduction onto his ultimate to be able to assist his team from the other side of the map.
Looks like, yeah, Scoot is literally just sitting bot lane or wherever his bot lane go. It's always just takes that.
I'm fuming, Hifrain. I'm fuming right now. Look at this guy in the top lane, Flaxis. He has his Blade of the Ruin King. He can take the trades, he can take the fights. Get that Gragas up there. You can even pull a dive because there is a stopwatch in Skude's pocket right there. So play hard towards your top side. Get him ahead before his time runs out.
Looks like Niddy actually just can get a really solid trade-off onto Flaxfish. Scoot also making his way up. Big chunk by Nilly, though, onto Flaxfish may make this trade a little bit harder if they want to go for it.
Time is running out for that Rift Herald in Skude's pocket as well, so he needs to make a choice where he chooses to put it down. Simply does have the teleport in the mid lane, and they are going to put it towards the mid lane.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a desperation placement, to be honest. Obviously, with Vrow, they should be able to push the wave fairly quickly. Simply will do a little bit of damage to the wave, but he's going to struggle to clear it quick enough to actually do too much here. So the plate goes exclusively to Scoot, as Vrow was out of range from the turret.
All right, so they're trying to feed a little bit more gold into the Gragas.
I think Vrow didn't want to overextend and get caught by Simply. I think it was more respect towards the burst from a Zoe. Because remember, Simply is 2-0 right now on the Zoe. Sure, the Luden's Echo is not picked up, but with the fact that you've got the cleanse available, the heal available, and a stopwatch, I really doubt Vrow is going to be able to do too much if they do try to look for a dive onto him under the tower. So they decide to play it safe, step back. They at least got the gold from the Rift Herald.
I mean, honestly, on a 2v2, right now, it would be really hard to fight versus the Trundle and Zoe, so I don't blame him for not moving forward, but I also do think that they wanted to exclusively feed some gold into these Gragas that should have had a lot more success in the early game getting kills together with the Renekton, and he hasn't necessarily been there yet. So the Syndra is at some point gonna get there, be a complete machine gun and deleting people with one R button press, but the Gragas needs the items right here, right now to stay relevant.
It's like the 3 versus 3 mid top lane. It's been set up here, but neither team really wanting to commit to it. There's quite a few wards by Singularity placed deep into ENCE's red side jungle. It's that line just around outside the pit and on that flank. So they have plenty of vision, plenty of options and openings for Flaxus to teleport to if you'd like to. And so far, as far as the vision goes, it's actually a really stellar setup from the side of Singularity.
And
Clearing
it's
out a lot of that
always
vision.
the
There you go.
right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's always the ball lane, right? Takes it and only 35 are the only 2 people that seem to matter for Singularity right now. The rest of the map can just chill in their solo lanes because it's all about that Aphelios, getting that Aphelios on the 2-item power spike.
Oh! Frau getting chunked by Simply there. Just Zoe thinks he might just land that paddle star. Almost finds the damage for the kill. Isn't going to be able to get it. It's the true shot. Barrage goes wide.
Oh man, there's too many things that you actually need to dodge. And that was beautifully played by Simply. He completely throws Frau out of his lane. There's no teleport on that Syndra. And they have instant priority onto the river. The Syndra is not there to contest. Obviously, the bot lane cannot move into the river because there's no vision whatsoever. So they just have to forfeit that. Maybe some kills as well.
Final chapter, Maze. Little big sprint there, but Simply finds a quick pop. And Kevin's able to get the next one. It's 2 kills over to ENCE. It actually looked a little bit like ENCE. Kevo wasn't completely on the same page because he had to arcane shift forwards to line up the rest of the final chapter.
I think they didn't know how many people were hiding into this bush. Flaxus also has the teleport and can pull himself in. But if Rao is not a factor, this is why ENCE pulled the trigger right there. The second they said it was only takes it and only 35, they just dived in. They get the Rift Herald straight out and open top lane for themselves.
Able to take that down. Looks like those Singularity's players to move towards the bottom side of the map at that time. Blackfish getting some free time here to push in this lane, but doesn't really want to overextend with Taiki waiting about. The Dragon's up and ENCE, they want to fight now. That's a good pillar, actually. Simply looks for the bubble, isn't able to find it. The teleport from Nilly's coming in as he's looking to help join up with the rest of his team. Take sets top side, so Singularity down the AD carry. Don't really feel comfortable to contest this, and ENCE may just be getting their their 3rd dragon. It's 17 minutes.
Whew, this is going to be
big denial here.
Yeah, it's going to be very early soul hit rain, and at some point Singularity are going to have to come out of hiding and try to fight for this. The point I was trying to make is the fact that because Shelly went down, Takes would have to go onto the top side and try to defend and push out the wave, as well as kill Shelly so she doesn't take another boop onto the tier 2 top lane tower. That allows ENCE to have numbers on the bot side of the map yet again and take the things that matter on the map, which is objectives. The next Cloud Drake pops up, then Singularity are going to have to take a fight.
No cannon barrage on Nilly with Flaxfish. In that bot side, they decide not to go for a dive. They do step away. Takes is getting a lot of free time to himself. He's kind of quietly farming up, taking some towers to himself as well. So someone needs to go deal with this. They will lose that tier 2 in the bot lane, in the top lane, sorry. So Zenz will at least take a tier 1 in response, or at least start to chip away at it.
That should never, ever have happened from ENCE. They should have had someone go straight away towards the top lane. This is an Aphelios with 0 vision over the top quadrant of Taiki's jungle, pushing a tier 2 top lane tower, completely immobile champion in the middle of nowhere. ENCE are going to reply straight away with a tier 1 bot of themselves, and at this point, it's complete chaos. Everyone is taking lane to themselves, and this is where we talked about that the team coherence is not there. The proper game style is not there. They cannot figure out how to use the macro to their advantage.
They get the slow off. They get the viable. Bubble's going to go a little bit wide, though. Frau was able to get his way out of there. They did also have Only, who had ultimate available, so looks like Frau probably wasn't going to go down. But it does force him out to go for a little bit of a cheeky reset, and maybe ENCE may be able to crack open this tier 1 in the mid lane. Takes this, making his way over. Hasn't quite got the Hurricane yet, so his wave clear is not insanely strong right now. Although he does have the Infernum, so should be able to pop through those waves as the bubble by Simply lands. And Simply actually just goes for the one-shot, forcing the wild growth out, but Scoot jumps in. Simply goes golden, dodging away, and 2 ultimates as Flash is trying to go in for a little bit more. Simply has the Flash and the Yuumi on him, and they may just turn this around on Scoot. Cannon Barrage is thrown down, but it's not even necessary. ENCE playing that really, really well.
They just have too much damage, and at the end of the day, your Zoe is not necessarily there to be a lethal weapon. If you can push Rao out of the situation...
Simply actually didn't go for the bubble.
Yeah, the second Rao is away from that lane. There is absolutely no wave clear to be found. Takes it, has to be very scared to move close to the wave to wave clear, that you need Rao to be there to help you with it. And with Simply playing that early to mid game so perfectly, I'm so impressed by this guy. So impressed. He's played it to perfection. He got slightly ahead, and he's been using that to his team's advantage ever since.
That was sad. Nearly kind of whiffed the combo there with the barrels. Timed his Q a little bit too early. Wasn't able to actually get any damage onto Varro, because that was Varro pretty low, but was able to heal back up. He's okay for the moment. Nilly's now going to move over towards this bot side and catch the wave. It kind of late rammy here for the moment from ENCE and Singularity.
I mean,
Everyone's
if
just
you're
grouping up
Zoe,
mid.
if you're Zoe, you take this A-round, because one way or the other, your poke is gonna get through. And again, Rao gets poked out of his lane and has to take yet another reset, and it's been the name of the game. We talked about the fact that Rao early in the game was ahead in CS, and now he's fallen behind because he has to take all of these trades with Simply, and they're just not favorable to him. He gets too low, he has to reset, or he's very susceptible to dying to the next puddle star that might hit him.
All right, 21 minutes on the clock. The gold lead is 2,000 over to the side of ENCE, but crucially, they've got themselves 3 dragons.
And they're going for the 4th one right now. 47 seconds until it spawns, and all my eyes are pierced on that almost death cap with the 2 needlessly large rolls coming in from Simply. He's feeling so comfortable onto this champion right now. You also have the double item power spike from Ezreal, and they just want to fight.
Yeah, bubble lands by Simply. The Scoot is a little bit too scary. The True Shot Barrage yonks out Val.
Wow. And he's back again to base.
Yeah.
Off he goes.
That is not what they need. They don't want to lose their mid now, while the fight for vision, while the fight for control is being set up. Nilly, in the meanwhile, quite happy just to push away in this top side. Where the barrel's able to clear it out, this could just be a tier 2 fooling to ENCE here. Vral's the one who's going to go answer out. It looks like he will be able to save the day. Takes it narrowly dodging away on that paddle star.
Again, they're grouping up. And you know what, Kevo and Simply are more than happy that Singularity are grouping up, because they're able to poke them down to 0. They're gonna trade for a Baron, but the Zoe is right there, and the poke is gonna hurt so much.
You can't do Baron into a gangplank. You just get completely minced by the ultimate.
That was beautifully executed by ENCE right there. Their decision-making has been on point. They're like, fine, just let them go and try and threaten us with Baron, because they cannot contest this Soul Dragon that's going on right now. 0 vision right there for Singularity. They pull the trigger for the Baron, instantly get punished and interrupted by Nilla, which, you know what, is much more useful to that late game than a Renekton that has had 0 love all this time.
Well, it's kind of hit on, but he wanted the the Renekton to be kind of enabled somewhat. And it looks like that really wasn't what they did here. They just kind of left him alone in the side lane. And everyone knows Renekton kind of falls off a bit of a cliff unless he starts to snowball. There has been no snowballing for this Renekton. Nilly on the gangplank, kind of just power farming away and getting his free scaling. He's got the Sterix, he's got the Triforce.
Ooh, look at that juicy purple hat in Simply's inventory. You want to do Baron? Oh, baby, he's really close.
That's going to be a big True Shot Barrage as well, as the bubble will land on the Scoot. Flaxfish looks to come in onto the flank. Taiki may just get caught out. The final chapter and the wild growth have been used, but the health bars are already just way too low. On the side of Singularity, another bubble will connect from Simply here as he's looking to try and mop them up. A good barrel does come down from the jungle, but it's not quite enough to actually disengage ENCE as they just continue to chase forward into Singularity's base. Moonlight Vigil was pretty big, but not big enough, and nearly just continues to run through the members. Goes underneath the tower, does get taken out, but answers out with his own kill in response. ENCE just find everybody bar 2, and now they're going to move over to Baron.
That was an ENCE fight all over. You hit crucial item, power points. You get the death cap in there. You have the Sterach onto the gangplank, which means he can play frontline all he wants. And suddenly you saw Singularity like chickens without a head. They were running away to not get hit by the paddle stars from Simply because they're gonna hurt oh so much. None of them has any magic resistance, and it showed the second the Qs hit from that Zoe. You see that Taiki is extremely tanky in the frontline, especially with the Yuumi attached onto him. And suddenly the whole Singularity is like, no, I don't want to tank any of the Qs from that Zoe. They're running away, but somebody at some point will get caught with the pillars going up, and the team being extremely immobile. Texas is going to pay the price right here as well. So even though, yes, the ultimate hits, he almost kills someone, almost doesn't matter when there's a Yuumi in the team.
I feel like fighting in the jungle is so horrible into Zoe. It's where she excels. She has so many walls to extend the range on that bubble. She can hit multiple members with those big paddle stars, and when you're gangplank as well with the barrels, you got a lot of extra kind of AoE you're able to thread down onto multiple members. Just felt like a very ENCE favored kind of terrain to fight in.
Oh, they're gonna
Flank with only. Taiki just gonna use that pillar just to send him packing. Simply half health Flaxfish over the walls. The True Shot Barrage hits onto Vrao, and that almost half health him. Bubble lands onto Tech. This could just be the end of him. They try to get a bit of extra damage in. He is able to put enough distance out to survive, and Simply actually used his real flash there as well to try and close that gap, and didn't actually find it. However, they've still got the Baron in their pocket. They are pushing up in the top side. They're pushing up in the mid lane.
It's just impossible to get any flank because the second they saw Scooter on the Gragas trying to flank behind them, they turned their attention onto him. And Gragas is just a piece of paper right now. He only has that hourglass. He will melt like a candle. So I don't know what Singularity can do at this point. Maybe a miraculous barrel followed up with Vrao pressing R, but it's just going to be extremely difficult with all this poke coming their way.
Oh, excuse me, get himself a little caught out here. The barrels from nearly won't actually hit onto anyone, and Taiki held that pillar there. Looks like ENCE are happy with what they've got. They do still have the Baron for quite a little bit more. And they may look just to push up this wave in the top side and try and crack open yet another inhibitor. If they can get this top inhibitor, it pulls members away from the point of congestion. As that is just going to be a lot of damage thrown onto Vrao. Instantly finding a kill as Kevin just jumps over the wall. Will get sent packing by the cast, but he lets to continue to chase onto Scoot. Is going to be slowed down by the pillar. And it feels like Singularity. This game is feeling a little doomed for them right now. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be able to do.
Right here, right now, because the poke is just unbearable to deal with if you don't have the Lulu shield. And Scoot, one last try.
Yeah, well, that's going to be Scoot having to go golden in the middle of the pillar. Simply dodging and darting around the edge of the fight as they are able to get a kill onto Scoot, taking him down. And it looks like ENCE just continuing to push up into this base. They want to take the Nexus right now, but Vrao does have a fair amount of wave clear. The Baron's worn off, and that's going to be a lot of damage coming out from Take That to clear out the wave as Nearly's on a killing spree, finds himself another one. Vrao just gets chunked out here as he's going to be run down. They find themselves a shutdown onto the Ezreal, and maybe ENCE are actually getting a little bit too aggressive here. Simply will get shut down by Vrao, and Singularity have just routed ENCE out of the base. A triple kill to Vrao. 29 seconds before the Elder spawns up. Just a massive misstep.
With a very angry B emote. Only 35 means business on that Lulu. Vrao crashes in on 3 very, very, very crucial kills, and he's also close to his death cap. Look at what's happening here. ENCE overextend. They want this to be over, and only 35 with another very clutch polymorph right there onto the Yuumi. Doesn't allow the Yuumi to attach to the rest of the members, meaning they're gonna go down. But are they gonna be able to sneak this?
Well,
I mean,
they know what's
Taiki's
going on. They're
around.
moving over. Taiki's there. The True Shot Barrage will spot them out. Taiki dodges away on the barrel. Can he get the steal here? The ultimate and the polymorph is going down. That's going to be the Elder secured. Now it's in the favor of Team Singularity with the gift of the Elder. Singularity just turned this game on a dime. They were one turret away from losing this game. And somehow, they've just bought themselves some breathing room.
And remember, we have seen it in the LEC, the NLC, sorry, probably in the LEC as well. The fact that one tiny mistake can be punished so heavily. Vrao was just on a Morelos and Ludens, and now he's just about to purchase that death cap, which means that our press will most likely be deadly. The wave clear is gonna be oh so much stronger. We talked about a miraculous scatter the week and then a barrel that could turn this fight around. Aphelios, 3-item power spike as well. Not quite on that death stance yet, but he's all very powerful as well. So you've got both the carries on the side and Singularity sitting very comfortably on item power points at this point. I'm waiting to see how the next fight will go because they still have that Elder Dragon, and ENCE don't seem to want to back off.
No, they're feeling maybe a little bit over prideful.
I was about to say, I mean, it's one way wanting to fight, but wanting to fight against an Elder Dragon, I don't know about that one.
They're still up in gold, but it's only 3,000 gold. It's not massive. And Vrao also now very relevant. After getting a lot of those shutdowns, simply will land himself a good bubbles. Does get a good shot with the Vrao. That forced the True Shot Barrage out. And if that was ENCE's Elder, I genuinely think that probably could have been enough to find them stealthy execute. Not going to be this time, though. Now as Scooty takes the bubble, he has to belly bop away to safety. And ENCE continue just to push into the face of Scoot and the rest of Singularity. Singularity now, their Elder will be falling off somewhat soon.
They're understanding that they cannot really push Singularity into the base. They can't take the third inhibitor right now, so the easy way for them would be
Oh,
to
that's
trap.
the bubble. That's the opening they need. Scoot has to go golden. The cannon barrage has been thrown down, and Scoot gets taken out by Simply. ENCE find their jungler, they find their man, and Flaxfish is sent packing. ENCE should just be able to go for Baron now.
And look how much more careful they're playing right here. They're not committing to the play furthermore. They're like, it's fine. Smite is down. It's easy peasy for us from here on out. We will take the Baron. We will push the 2 lanes that are already pushing with super minions. And then there's only one to go. The second Singularity force themselves to clear the last 2 waves. Will take the last inhibitor remaining. That is clever play from ENCE to try and redeem themselves from just literally throwing themselves into Singularity's waiting arms in the previous fight. So they're pulling a little bit back. They don't want to throw this game away, and now with the Baron up means they have that one last fight to take.
Story actually will fall here. So finally tier 1 will go down. So think stock of where we are as well, because that death dance,
Small
like you said,
victories.
the death dance for Kevo has been picked up. It was one of the things you were hitting on earlier on in the game was once that comes through, Kevo's just going to be so strong. He's had it for quite a while now. He's even got his QSS, so some of the CC the Singularity is going to be able to throw down will be somewhat negated as well. Not sure what you're doing there, Chief. He will find himself the ultimate onto Simply, but Simply just raises the flag, gets healed up by the kitty cat. And now with one of your main wave clear and one of your main kind of burst damage outputs down, and Baron having the ENCE having the Baron, they may just be able to go for this. It's going to be this. Zonya's used as Flaxis looks to chase onto a little bit more. ENCE's health bars are low once again.
200 years,
will just find himself getting killed. Taiki now trying to push him forward. Nilly's pushing in this bot lane. Will he at least be able to take that for himself? But Taiki, he's going to go down, and Nilly has to run away from the members of Singularity. Just kind of a comedy of errors from ENCE on their last few pushes into the base. Feels like they've been a little bit too over-eager to try and close this game out, and it's starting to cost them.
ENCE again are being extremely overzealous. They're like, it's fine, it's a 4v5, but it's not. It's essentially a 4v4. And Takes It has 3 very crucial items as well as an Executioner to chop the healing from the Yuumi coming in. The Aphelios is really hurting right now. So even though Vrau's Syndrome was down, that was effectively a 4v4 with Nile only being able to take that inhibitor bot tower. So ENCE are really feeling themselves here, and I don't know if they're gonna pay for their back-to-back mistakes here.
A little bit too much limit testing coming out from ENCE, I think. as they are starting to put themselves in a somewhat precarious
The question
situation.
is, how close is that Aphelios to the death stance? Because as you can see, he's been donated every single
he's
camp
close.
in the jungle.
I think he needs... Does he have the Vamp Scepter, or does he just have the Aegis?
I think he has the Aegis. Oh, no,
He's looking for Taiki. Look at the damage he puts in. Healing does come out, and that will be the red buff picked up for Take Set. Elder up in 40 seconds. And I think Take Set really wants to get his death stance before he can look for a little bit more. But Taiki on that hunt there, trying to find himself a little something. Taiki will take chunks out from Take Set. With the Baron, remember, ENCE are going to be pretty effective at clearing through these waves and actually just pushing into the base here. All of the inhibitors are open. There is only one turret in this game.
Oh, he's
left.
going back for it. He's going back. There we go. There we go. Take set is online, baby. Death Stance has been completed, and ENCE were trying to play on that power spike. They were trying to take at least one inhibitor, break through one lane, and they take advantage of that push to take all that vision inside Singularity's jungle. Whoever face checks is most likely dead, and now they're putting up a trap for Singularity
they
to run
smell
into.
something amiss there. The bubble isn't going to quite find its mark. That pink ward actually doing a lot of work. ENCE now will take out the ward in the pit, and looks like they may have thinking about starting up this Elder.
Flaxus has a really nice ward to TP into on the bot side of the river, but he's gonna TP in the mid.
Yeah, it looks like he just wants to get maybe the safer entrance in. Simply will land the bubble onto him just to dissuade him, as that's going to be half health onto the Elder Dragon. And Singularity say, thanks for the startup, we'll just finish it up here. We might be looking just at a smite fight here. Taiki has got a level up, so doing a little bit more damage with that smite. The True Shot Barrage do a little bit of damage as well to Singularity. So far, both the teams feeling relatively healthy, and Flaxfish going the long way around for that flank from the blue side.
They know he's there.
5,800 health on to the Elder. Neither team willing to let it reset. The Cannon Barrage has connected, and Takes It has to run away. Scoot exceptionally low. Nilly with that Cloud Soul very, very quick now, as Vrao will get chunked out. Looking for some healing, looking for some survivability. As Flashes jumps in onto the backline. A massive midlife vigil comes down, and that's going to be the end of Nilly. They're looking for Taiki. Taiki gets polymorph. 3,000 health onto this Elder Drake. Kevo not willing to give up, not willing to stop the fight yet, as it only will actually get popped by the bubble. Flaxfish also being zoned away by Simply. Scoot's still alive, though. He can make this happen. He can save the day for Singularity if he can just survive, if he can just dodge. He is able to dodge away for a moment as he does go golden, but Takes it, trying to put some damage back in the True Shot Barrage. By Kevo is enough to secure it. The Elder gets reset again. Flaxish and Takes it, just not feeling it anymore without their jungler. That will be Elder over the end, and that was very close.
Oh, that was very close. Back and forth all the way, but the massive takeaway that we have from that is that Flaxish showed his teleport in the mid lane. He had a perfectly good ward in the bot side river in the bush where he could have TP'd and wrapped around the entirety of ENCE. Instead, he chose to show his positioning on the flank and simply single-handedly dismantles him. He stops him from running in with a beautiful bubble, and every time that dragon was close to going down, there was some sort of zoning coming in from the side of ENCE, where there was a Sleepy Trouble bubble to stop any carries from coming in from Singularity, or Nille with an amazing, yet again, Cannon Barrage. Now you have to fight them, because Baron is coming up in 4 seconds, and ENCE just... Was that a whole Syndra ult that did 0 damage? Yep, that was a whole.
Yeah, there was a healing from the Yuumi there, so it's somewhat depleted. Actually, he has a Morello's. Maybe that just didn't do that much damage then. That must have been the Yuumi healing. Anyway, Baron gets hunted up here by ENCE. Singularity, they're fighting into Elder here. Fighting into a zone they have no vision, no control over. It looks like they may just have to give it up. They know it's going on. They can see it because of the crab. But
Honestly,
they do
you
not
have to give it up, because at this point you do not want to fight into the Elder Dragon. So if ENCE are wasting time taking the Baron, you will take that. You still have the wave clear with your Aphelios and your Syndra. Your skill shots can still land and CC members of ENCE, but the crucial part is that they no longer have that, or the Elder Dragon buff is about to run out because they wasted time going for that Baron. So I do like the fact that Singularity backed off. They're going to wait for the buff to run out as well, and then they're going to choose to pick a fight. Possibly the last one.
And stepping up here, looking to push up this wave. Remember, they've still got the Elder Dragon, and every Ezreal Q is a step closer to being executed. Scoot trying to hold the mid lane is going to get sent packing. Bot side is the only one which isn't pushing into the side of Singularity right now. And hence, they may just play this by the book, go for every objective. Rao does get a scat of the week off, but Kevo just gets healed straight back up from that Yuumi. ENCE playing this slow and steady, not willing to give up. That's the cannon barrage being thrown down. Scoot looking for his open. Kevo goes golden. Just a dodge away from Scoot. It's only exceptionally low. ENCE feeling it. They are just going to take down this inhibitor. They actually do step away once again. They've still got that Baron, remember. The Elder falling off in a short amount of time. It looks like ENCE, they're just going to go for the exit.
Singularity have to fight here, or they're going to be looking for yet another Elder spawning, and then the base will be wave after wave of super minions, or ENCE are going to look to end it here.
It looks like they should just look to end it here. That turret is so low. Elder's worn off, and it looks like they are just going to have to push in for another inhib. Somehow, Singularity holding on by the skin of their teeth right now, but it does feel like death is creeping towards Singularity. Scoot gonna take a fair amount of damage. Crucial barrage lands onto him. It's now ENCE. That was their opening to get into this tower and take it down. The inhibitor, sorry, the Nexus. Now the only structure standing for Singularity. The ENCE are just not willing to commit. They're not feeling it right now. They got Baron. They got 3 waves of supers, but they are still way too hesitant to go for this. Simply actually went for a quick base, got himself the pot, has a teleport, so he's just going to look to join in with the rest of the team when these waves start to crash up.
They should never give up. As long as the Nexus is up and available, they should never give up. This is very indicative of the draft that ENCE has actually chosen to opt for. The poke op, which if the poke does not land, you don't really have agency to start a fight because they have no engage tools. What they do have is poke, so they have to dispatch of the minions and just run straight for that Nexus now.
Yeah, now they've got the ability to go for it. They do get the stun off of the Kevo. Kevo gets caught out by the CC. It's then packing. That's going to be the Zhonya's used. There's a great snipe comes through with the True Shot Barrage. Singularity are now just being routed out of their own base. Simply takes down Brava. Clutch Flash. Gets himself the bubble off. And Blackfish looking for something onto Kevo. Kevo able to survive it, however, as all of Singularity are being wiped from the face of this game. Nothing less standing in the base as ENCE take out the win.
Oh boy, I think Cape Rain, that was one of the most entertaining games we've yet had in the NLC. It was so back and forth. It was very scripted as in what both the teams just needed to do. And right there at the end, you saw the true power of Aphelios with 5 people beating on him. He was just refusing to go down 1v5. All in all, I'm really excited to see that new side of ENCE. Yes, there were some hiccups. Yes, there were some missteps. Yes, there was a lot of indecision on how to finish the game, but their weak spot was mainly that early game that they would lose so much that we would never see the late game. Now we see, yes, they're lacking a little bit of decision making in the late game, but since they fixed everything else, that's just the last piece on their puzzle. As for Singularity, I do think their strengths are shining through, with their individual players being so strong, but you have to press the button early game. The Aphelios got to where he got eventually, but the Renekton was significantly lacking any impact in the game, and that was due to the fact of how they chose to play their early, which was all the way down their bot lane. So individually, great stuff coming from them. We do see their strengths. I just need to see some more coherence.
We definitely do need to see a little bit more from the side of ENCE. For Singularity, they put a fight up there. Now, I'm sure Veteran was having a bit of a breakdown about that game in some areas. So we're going to cut to a quick break. And when we're back at the desk to break that game down. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second.
eyes, but you swear we're just having fun. No, 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 won't be the lonely one. Good night, baby. I'm gonna tuck you in. Told me I'm crazy too many times to win. Maybe now you'll see the light. Good night, baby. Good night. We have regrets, yes, we all do, and you buried yours now. I'll bury mine too. Oh, oh. No, 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 won't be the one to lose. Good night, baby. I'm gonna tuck you in. Told me I'm crazy too many times to win. Maybe now you'll see the light. Good night, baby. Good night. Good night, baby. I'm gonna tuck you in. How come I keep reaching, but my arms can only stretch so far before I gotta give in? And how come I keep wanting, but my heart can only stretch so far before it's gone?
Easy mercs for ENCE, apparently, but it didn't quite feel that way. Look, let's start with the good. Let me start with the good. Gulbog, bring me in. Early game felt like it was much more proactive from
Yeah, really. I love the draft. They had to play it out too. And honestly, just look at Taiki here. So this is a big factor to me that Taiki is bold enough to actually come in with a coordinated team of ENCE here. Look how the laners actually rotate. They're looking at the same window here. We were talking about that they were on the page with the same play. And just to talk about the road that Taiki has been taking here. The first week, we saw him just completely invisible on this Ghana. Second week, he tried to go for the invades, didn't really make it work with his team. But now we actually see it flourish. And I like the way the early game played out, but for me, it's when we hit that mid to late game that it really starts to crumble.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the early game, like what options did team on the left even realistically have? I mean, and of all the options you take, why are you taking one where your Gragas is pathing towards top side when there's an Ezreal Yumi on the bottom side of the map for your opponents? You know you're going to be secure versus invades at the very least on that side, but you just opt into the Trundle. When you've picked, sure, Trundle's not going to steal your stats mid to late game, but early game Trundle runs most junglers down anyway. You know your top side basically has to be abandoned after you blind pit the next in there as well, and you've given such unmixed damage from your mid jungle that it's a free Mercs Treads for Zoe, it's a free Mercs Treads for Trundle, it's potentially a free Spirit Visage for Trundle, and while you're trying to itemize for that, the Ezreal gets towards Death Stance, and then what are you really realistically going to do for the rest of the game? You also have to now take into account for a Morello's while you're trying to figure out going Void Staff versus these champions that you've enabled to go really easy build pass into you. Like, there were so few options for them after that last rotation in draft for S&G strategy that I'm surprised they stuck in the game for as long as they did. And most of that was, the game was still a foregone conclusion after that, as far as I was concerned, because even though they threw at about 23, 24 minutes and they were able to gift over the Elder, how are they really going to use the Elder when you're still first on with a gangplank, with a full poke composition around neutral objectives? How are they ever going to step into you? How are they actually going to make use of this? Flaxis tried his hardest. I have to say, hats off to him. He tried his hardest to find flank scenarios to try to get an engage off on this team, but it's so hard to do that with the level of control that that composition is able to do. And when your items are everywhere where they are, like, you have to wait until like 5-6 items before you have the damage necessary to do anything to them. And even then, you need a scenario where you're first on. That's just not happening here, right?
Yeah, and I think even with the fact they had the Lulu Aphelios, which we've seen be such a menace in the late game, after they threw, they actually seeded a 2-level advantage between AD carries. So they have this really strong bot lane combo that scales extremely well, but they just couldn't find the setup. It really came down to ENCE being overzealous with trying to finish the game. They overstayed in the enemy base. They couldn't find an opportunity end, and obviously it wasn't a great setup for them. And so it gave Singularity a lifeline, but even then, it just wasn't enough. Even with the Renekton pulling out that huge flank, when they got to that late Elder, which decided the game, it was a situation where ENCE just stalled it for as long as they could. And it was just the Aphelios could not get in on these fights, constantly threatened by the poke and harass. And the end result was, even with the mistakes from ENCE, they still came out as the winners despite what happened.
Yeah, I think Veteran touched on a lot of the reasons why as well, with the accordance to the draft and itemization pathways. Speaking of ENCE, we have Kavo ready to talk to me, so I'm going to bring Kavo in. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Congratulations on your first win in the NLC. It's obviously a nice feeling. Obviously, I think realistically, you had a huge advantage that game. Can you talk us through what was going on in the team, especially after, I think it was Vrao got the triple kill in their base, and then eventually we had a very slow end to the game. What was going through comms, and what was your sort of game plan from there on out?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious. We know we had the game in the bag, so we did the classic ENCE play. You know, we gave them the Seema, and then we pulled them up to Alta, you know. So we just, yeah, actually, it was kind of overzealous for us. We tried to go for the end, and then we overstepped, and yeah, ended up stalling the game like 20 minutes longer than it should have gone. But we managed to pull it off in the end, so all good.
Yeah, no, the win's what counts at the end of the day, realistically, and obviously it's nice for you to get your first. I think what we kind of wanted to discuss was sort of what's happened from last week to this week and what have you been working on, because obviously it wasn't a great opening week for both you and Singularity, realistically. What is it that you focused on coming out of week one with those losses coming into this week?
Yeah, I mean, last week in both of our games, we made some really uncharacteristic mistakes in the early game, like especially from the bot lane. Like in our game against Riddle and against Nordavind as well. Like we just basically we threw the game in the early game already, so it was, we kind of had to claw it back from that. And those were like some mistakes that we haven't been making in scrims, and it was like new for us, and we just, you know, played more controlled and yeah, worked out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you could see you guys a little bit more comfortable. Despite having a bit of a shake at the end, you still managed to secure that win in the bag. So congratulations, KV. Thanks for joining me, mate. And I'm sure we'll get to speak to you much more as the season goes on and ENCE continues to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, guys, I'm going to have to quickly move us on because we are going to be going into our next game of the day. So after the break, we're going to jump into Nordavind versus BTXL. Don't go anywhere.